Hello and welcome to today's episode of the Work at Home Rockstar podcast. Today's guest is a sales page copywriter and designer, and with SaraDesigns.com. And what she does is she helps people create sales pages for courses, group programs, etc. Just about anything that would require a sales page. So I'm rocking out today with Sara Guilliot. Hey, Sara, you ready to rock?
I'm ready.
Cool. So we always start off on a good note here. So tell me a story of success in your business that we can be inspired by.
Yeah, so it's been quite the journey since leaving corporate and striking out on my own. And I've tried all these different business models and even partnering with other people. And I'd kind of avoided doing design and copy for hire because I got burned out in corporate. But then I eventually circled back to that. And it's been interesting because I've learned, and this is something I actually learned, like it was like a combo failure success for me, which was that I learned that I am best on short-term projects. Like retainers aren't for me. I had a client who I had done website work for them. I'd helped them with their launches, and then they came to me wanting marketing support, like someone to almost be like a marketing manager. And I pitched them this idea for a monthly retainer. I brought in a subcontractor to help assist and had all these grandiose ideas, but I had a really hard time with that monthly, like keeping in touch, making sure they knew what was going on. And they ended up a little bit disappointed. And I had an opportunity to fix it with them, but I took a minute to myself. I was like, let's think about this. I could spend time fixing this, or I could get honest with myself. And I realized that I just don't like these long contracts that go on for months. And I have been doing these more of a VIP day or a VIP week where it's this discrete short process. And that really suits me. So I ended up backing out of that project, and I sent them off with just my subcontractor. So it was a super win for her because she became their main person. And we parted on good terms. And I was just like, I felt really excited to realize that about myself. And it helps me from making that mistake again in future. So it was a combo success failure moment, as they usually are.
Right on. Well, that's pretty common that happens just about everybody at some point where you try to be too much, I guess. And
Mm-hmm.
and it's really good that you realized that and pulled the chute right away, because most people would have tried to fix it, I think, right? And then ended up being unhappy.
Yeah. It would have just meant that maybe I fixed it for the next 3 months, but then at that point I would have been like, I don't think this is working out. And then they would have had to go find somebody. So yeah. It ended well, I think, going in the right direction.
Yeah, and I think that that's a good point too, is that some people are more comfortable with the short-term projects, and some people really need that stability of the retainer. So it's one of those things where like there's nothing really right or wrong about either. It's just a personality thing, I imagine, right?
Yeah, it's interesting that you say that, the stability of the retainer, because that first 2 months that I was in there, I was like, oh, I feel so relaxed. I'm not stressed. I don't have to worry about finding a bunch more clients. It felt really good. I loved that stability. But in the end, I was like, and also it was the topic, the marketing calendar, all that stuff was kind of outside my zone of genius. Whereas I'm designer and copywriter. So I was also stretching myself on what I was promising. But I loved the feeling of having the regular money. But now I'm just like honing in on, okay, I can still get that feeling. I just need to figure out the model that works for me, which is the swoop in, save the day, and swoop back out again.
Nice. Yeah, I actually like the short-term projects as well. That's more my style for a long time. Actually, that's one of the reasons why I like what I'm doing now. And people will try to get me to do long-term things, and I'm like, yeah, I've got some long-term stuff, but for the most part, I love the whole swooping in and doing something, because it's very defined as well when you do it that way. You've got like a system that you follow, and you just get it done.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. I'm loving that. I'm super into refining my system, because otherwise I promised the world and then I start doing a bunch of extra things and it gets really inefficient and really unprofitable quickly.
Yeah. But it's also good to have sort of like a team as well, where you can start to refer things off, like once you're done that project too, which is something that I'm actually looking into right now, where, you know, for those short-term projects where I know I'm not going to want anything long-term with them, it'd be great to have that already kind of established, where they just fly on with your subcontractor like what you did, right?
Yeah, I agree. And that's another thing that I've really enjoyed about transitioning to, you know, being a work at home rock star, is creating a whole new network of people that I know, and like, you know, going on 100 coffee chats and joining groups with other people. I've made a bunch of friends who have skills that kind of are parallel to mine, or like you said, or it's like the next step in the process that I can send people on to. And yeah, you end up being like a really great resource for your clients over and over again, because they know that they can come to you for your specialty, but also if they need help outside of your specialty, you kind of become a connector for them, which is pretty cool.
Yeah. And there's a lot of really like terrible resources in our field as well. I'd say there is, because I know, because I I've got another meeting coming up on Thursday with somebody else who posted on their social media that they got burned by another design development company. Like, it's just in this space, there's so many people that I think they know what they're doing, and they actually are just maybe transitioning from job to job. Maybe, I don't know. There's lots of reasons why someone would say, yeah, I think I could do this, build this website or build this sales page. And there's a lot to it. I mean, there's a reason why we do what we do, and why, right? There's a lot more to it than people might think is to it. You know, they just look at a page and they go, well, that can't take too long. I can draw that thing in a couple hours.
Exactly.
Right? There's more to it than that, right?
Yeah. It's like with the, you know, the growth of Canva in the industry, where there's so many more people coming on the scene that are like, you know, I'm a professional graphic designer. And I'm like, well, that's great. You know, maybe you are, let's see what you have. But really, they've just been playing in Canva for like 6 months. I'm like, okay, well, I have 20 years experience with graphic design. I like Canva too. But yeah, there's a difference in what you bring to the table, and you never know when you meet someone new where they are.
Yeah, I think and a good analogy for that is the photographers, right? Like, because everybody's got a camera in their phone now, and
oh my God,
but you'll never get the same quality of photographs than you would with somebody who's got the training of it. And you know, maybe now, because you know you can have an event and have 30 people taking photos, and chances are you will have a good set of photos. But if you had one person who was like, no, I'll just do it with my cell phone. I mean, I don't know if you're going to get the desired result out of that, right?
Exactly. Yeah, I spent an afternoon a couple weeks ago. I was like, I need more shots of myself, because I just have a couple headshots from a professional photographer that I love. I'm like, well, let's see what I can do in my backyard. It was just, now my phone is filled with like 50 pictures of me looking awkward, and like it's all kind of stretched out too, because it's not a real camera. And I'm like, I'm kind of avoiding hiring a real photographer, but in the end, I know that's what I'm gonna have to do if I want pictures that I'm proud of and won't hesitate to use.
Yeah, and that's the thing. I mean, you just do it once, and then you've got those pictures for the next 5 years or so, right? Hopefully.
Yes, exactly. Yep.
So now, the bad note, we do talk about the bad note. So that's kind of wrapped into your good note story. But is there another example you have of something that didn't go as planned that you could share?
Yeah. I had, let's see, was it last year? I had a referral for a sales page. Actually, no, it was a website build project. It was on Kajabi. And so I knew a woman that I had worked with, and then she had a group, and someone in her group needed help, and she referred her to me. And I met her, and I was like, I don't know if we are a match, energetically. Like, I felt like some weirdness about our interaction, but she needed help and I needed work. So I was like, it'll be fine. And she was like just constantly hammering me with questions, like leading up to the project. And I'm like, oh, poor thing. She doesn't know. I'll help her out. I'll answer all her questions. So it was kind of a drain there. These were red flags right and left. I was ignoring, right? So I'm like, oh, it's fine. I'm being fussy, whatever. and did the project. I pulled in subcontractor, a fellow friend, Amanda, to help with branding. And then I was building out the website. And this gal was in more of a spiritual sort of niche, which is not usually my typical thing. I'm not very woo. But that's fine. I figure I can help whoever. But it went poorly. I designed out everything. I used Amanda's amazing brand. She loved that. And it was a 2-day VIP day. And so it was 2 full working days with her, and was presenting it to her, and she just didn't like it. And she told me it was because it didn't feel magical. And I was like, oh, can you tell me more about what you mean by how it doesn't feel magical? People don't know how to explain what they're trying to get at. And there were so many signs leading up to this that we weren't going to be able to communicate with one another. And it was just a real struggle. And I ended up refunding her half of the project. So I worked 2 days. I refunded her one of the days because I was like, I don't understand what you need me to do. And she was having a really hard time communicating with me, but I'd still done a significant amount of work on the project and given her a lot of help and information. So I was like, I'm just gonna, cut it off here. I'm sorry that you're disappointed. Hopefully this was a head start that gets you moving, and maybe you can find somebody who can, bring your vision to life better. So I felt terrible at the time. Also, my dad died the day after I had this conversation with her. And he had been sick. So there's other things going on in my life at the same time. And it was just, the whole thing made me feel sick. And I didn't want to do work with clients for probably 4 or 5 months after that. I was really hesitant to have my own clients again. After that. It felt so traumatic. Now that time has passed, I'm like, I've learned, to look back with clearer eyes and say, okay, what have I learned here? Maybe people with a spiritual topic aren't the right fit for me because I can't really speak to their audience, and don't ignore those red flags. Really notice and don't ignore them,
Yeah, well, you and I have probably a lot of these similar stories because we work in the same field. I mean, I do, but I'm more on the tech side, and my girlfriend actually does all the design side. But the thing about these creative fields, and that goes for just about any business idea that would be on the creative side, it would be more of a subjective thing. It's very difficult to get into someone's head and build what they want.
It is.
Especially if they aren't very clear about what they want, right? And I think in another thing too, maybe this is just a warning for anybody, is that when somebody doesn't like what you want, it is really hard on the self-esteem. Because and it doesn't matter how many great clients you had, because I've seen this happen with actually Amanda as well, but I mean with everybody who's a designer, and even myself, because I'm a musician as well. You can have a whole room full of fans loving what you're doing, and you see that one person with their crossed arms going this song sucks, or and that's the one that you want to focus on, right? And now all of a sudden you're like, oh, maybe I'm not such a good designer, maybe I'm not such a good musician, right? And so I think that maybe hopefully what someone will take out of this is that if those red flags are shooting your way, it's not I'll just get through this project and everything will be fine. You could actually damage your business and your mindset for a little while if you go through it with this person. And this is something on both sides too. When you're looking for something as well, I think it's important to be clear. If you want someone to build your vision that you have in your head, you better be very clear at getting that out to a person, because we can't read minds, But on the other hand, very few really talented designers are going to be interested in even doing that. I mean, there's a reason why we know what we know, right? It's a matter of you hire somebody with experience to build something that your audience is going to love. And it doesn't really matter if you like it or not. What matters is whether it's going to actually connect with your audience or not. And that's what the training gives you, right? I would assume. Am I wrong with that?
No, absolutely 100%. And not every client is going to understand that. Some do super valuable. They're like, no, I trust you. You know what you're doing. You know, show me the vision that's going to help me achieve my goals. And then you come in and you do that. And yeah, having that experience definitely, like I've spent years designing and I know how to create work that my clients will love, but it takes a lot of interactions and time. And that's not the product that I've built right now. Now that I'm doing like a VIP week or 2-week project, I'm not having a lot of back and forth interaction with them. So I want to attract those people that understand that I have the expertise and I know what to create that's going to appeal to their audience. And also I have actually changed my offer. So now like you said, it's so arbitrary. It's so much opinion that now when I do sales pages, I'm like, okay, I work with people who already have a brand. So there's not as much question about what I'm going to end up building. I'm like, I'm using your brand guidelines to build this page. And then I'm writing the copy. So I'm controlling I'm controlling the copy and how it fits on the page, but I'm using their existing brand. So that takes away some of that, like, ooh, what will they think? Pressure for those kinds of clients. So yeah.
Hi, it's Marc Mawhinney from Natural Born Coaches, and I want to give 2 very big thumbs up to Tim Melanson and his Creative Crew agency. I have been using them for a long time, and I am 100% happy. They get the job done right, they're fast, and they let me focus on my business. I don't have to worry about anything. So again, I want to give them 2 very big thumbs up. I have no problem recommending them. I don't give testimonials for everyone because my name is attached to it, but I gladly do so for Tim and the Creative Crew agency. So use them, you won't regret it, and good luck.
So let's talk a little bit about practicing and getting good at what you do. So what's your approach to, like, because technology keeps changing. There's things that are changing all the time. How do you stay, on top of things?
Yeah. So like in terms of sales pages, a lot of sales page content, like what fits on a page, is kind of evergreen. It's like I've taken courses in corporate. I was building hundreds of landing pages to sell products. They all kind of come down to the same pieces that need to be included on each page. So I have the experience from the past about what needs to be there and like the best way to arrange it and like will it be responsive, and how will this look once people are on their mobile device. And then I have taken some other people's courses on how they create sales pages in this day and age. So some things have changed, like the selling tactics I'm finding are leaning more in the direction of they used to be find the pain, agitate the pain, make the person like, oh, things are horrible. And then my thing will solve this for you. And now they're moving more in a hopeful sort of empathy-based direction, which is great. That fits my personality exactly. So I've taken a few courses. I've tried not to take too many because I don't want to end up accidentally recreating what somebody else is selling. But yeah, I try to take some online courses to help me keep up with that and just keep an eye out for what's happening. And then it's just a matter of, with each new client, refining my process and noticing what's true for each one, because I'm not a very linear thinker, which is probably different from you. Or maybe your girlfriend understands. So sometimes I don't see the forest for the trees. I end up just like intuitively creating something. I'm like, well, wait, actually there is a recipe to this. So I'm constantly evolving that. And I found also that creating trainings or sending out regular emails and writing about my process is helping me hone in too on what I do and the best way to do it. And I can sense that it's getting more refined as I go. So I'm just going to keep on doing that and hope that it keeps getting better.
Right on. Well, I mean, yeah, that's exactly it. It does get more refined the more you do it, right? And whether you know it or not, you are following a recipe.
Yeah, exactly.
And but that's that kind of leads to if you are ever going to get into a place where you're going to sort of start to subcontract and stuff, well, having that recipe written down would be useful as well, right?
Yes, for sure.
So let's talk a little bit about the jam room, because one of the challenges about working from home is finding a space to work from home where you can be productive. So what have you done?
Yeah, so we moved. We used to be in a nice big house. I had an office. It was amazing, which was a playroom, but nobody was playing with it in it. It was just toys everywhere. So I'm like, well, if you guys aren't using this, now it's my office. It was great. And then we moved because we're building a house. We bought property and we're in a rental house. So there's much less rooms here. But I was able to find this room, which I kind of can share with a daughter, whatever. But when I have these calls, I know like there's a bed behind me, which is really awkward. And I don't like to have the fake background. I don't know. I just want to I don't want to have to think about that. So I just want to be able to come on camera and everything. So since I'm on a lot of Zoom calls, I was like, I don't really like having a bed behind me. So I ended up buying this wood screen from Home Depot, which I had seen on you see like Amy Porterfield. She has this beautifully built wooden background, and other people have pretty places in their house that they've set up. And I was like, oh, this screen is like $150 from Home Depot, and I can just prop it up against the bed and it looks like a million times better. And I have a gigantic light in the corner. So that's been great for me for videos, but for being productive at home, I'm just not. I've noticed I'm not productive at home. So my go-tos are my car. It's like my mobile command unit. I love being in my car. I feel like, I don't know, insulated and focused in there. And I'll just go to a park and I can work there on the hotspot on my phone. And the library is amazing. I find that if I really want to get things done, I need to have like 3 solid hours at the library. And that's a really safe, solid place for me. And now I've kind of trained my brain to be super productive whenever I go to the library. So those are my places.
Nice. I've never heard the library, but that's a really good idea, because a lot of people go to coffee shops, and coffee shops are good, but they're kind of bustly and there's like stuff going on. And so it's very difficult to concentrate if you need that quiet, right?
Yeah. And I would feel like, oh, I got to constantly buy things, or I'm going to feel guilty for sitting here. So I don't have to buy anything at the library.
It's unlimited refills. It's part of their branding. They want us to be there. Right on. So now, how about learning from others? I mean, you mentioned before that you often take courses, but do you believe in getting coaches and that kind of stuff as well, and masterminds, all that? What do you do with?
Yeah. I hesitated to get a coach for the longest time, and this was 3-4 years ago. I finally was like, I feel like I've taken a bunch of courses and I get the content, and then I maybe look at it a little bit and do a little bit, but I don't really make headway, or I have specific questions that I need answered, and I wish I had somebody to just tell me specifically. So that's when I got my first coach. I was so nervous about finding the right coach. Her name is Jessica Rodriguez. She's at Freedom Driven Success. So she was my first coach, and I was in a coaching program for like 6 months with her, and then another 6 months. Even before that, actually, I started coaching with her while I was still in corporate, while I was making the transition out. So then I learned the value of coaching for me. I mean, maybe coaching isn't for everyone, but for me, it's amazing, because sometimes I can get really into action if I know exactly what I'm doing, but sometimes I stumble over what my next step should be. So since then, that like opened the floodgates of coaching. I've spent maybe way too much money on it, but I discovered a gal named Sara a couple years ago, who teaches about the VIP day process, where you're doing, all the work in one day, but it's charging a nice amount for that. And it's just more efficient than a month-long project. You could get the same amount of work done. Amazingly, it doesn't seem possible, but you can. And that's been incredible for me. I mean, that made so many great friends in there that end up being subcontractors on projects, or if I can't do something, I hand them off to them. Like, I don't work in WordPress. So if there's a WordPress project, I know like 5 people I could hand those over to. And, it's been amazing for just having a solid format to follow whenever I'm confused about what those next steps are.
Yeah, I agree with you, because I found that taking online courses, it's very difficult to stay focused on what you're doing. And I don't know how many online courses I've actually done, maybe 3 modules and then been done. Like just, all right, I'm done. You don't have that focus, right? But when you have, like, I've had a coach now for, I think it's coming up on 2 years now, that I meet with regularly, and it's great. I mean, because there's another thing too, is that I find that when the meeting is coming up, I get the most work done.
Yes.
And that last little bit, because I'm like, there's no way I'm hopping on this call and going like, I didn't do anything, sorry. So like, I find that there's that, but also just having someone to bounce the ideas off of, that's not gonna just say, yeah, sure, sounds good. Yeah, sure, sounds good. Because that's what a lot of your support network is going to do. They're there to support you. So, whatever you say, they're either going to poo-poo it, or but they're not going to really, bounce the ideas back and forth as well as someone who's trained to do so would do so, right?
Yeah, I agree completely. They are a great sounding board that's going to be honest with you. And that accountability too, like you're talking about, or I can't show up to that meeting with nothing done. I love that. Like, having a coach feels like they're holding you accountable, and they're holding space for you. So if you have a kind of a long-term goal, you're going to make those tiny steps to get there. Whereas if you're all alone, you don't have the pressure of like, oh, I've got a call next week, and you might wait 8 months before you think about it again, or you completely forget what your goals were. And just having that circle back touch point with the coach reminds you, oh yeah, that's that thing I'm building that's so important to me, and I just got lost in the weeds and forgot about until we had our next call.
Yep. And there's a lot of systems you can create too that would replace a coach. And I know, I mean, it might not be for everybody, because I do have now like accountability systems, like spreadsheets that I keep regular tabs on the things that I'm supposed to be doing every day, which actually came from the coach. But like now, I've got like 2 coaches. I got that real person, and I got that spreadsheet. And I mean, the difference is pretty distinct. You can't BS with the spreadsheet. and actually you can't BS with a coach either, now that I think about it. They see through it. But I think it's one of those things where once you get to a level, then you can sort of like stabilize there, and then you've got another level to keep on going up, right?
Yeah, exactly. Maybe your spreadsheet won't help you actually get up those next levels, but a real person would. Can I ask you, on your spreadsheet, is that something that you visit on a certain cadence? Like, are you looking at it every day, or do you have a reminder that comes to you and is like, head over to the spreadsheet?
Well, right now I do it every day, and some days I don't, but I'm supposed to do it every day. And yeah, you can put a reminder in your phone or whatever it is to do it, but I tend to do it in the morning every day, and then again right before I close everything down again. And yeah, I mean, if you have even just, like, because there's always going to be in every business, I think, like a minimum amount of things you need to do, a minimum, thing that you have to do. Like, maybe you need to reach out to 1 new person every day for your sales, right? Well, you can put that in a spreadsheet, and it's either a 0 or a 1. You either did or you didn't. But I find that, like, a lot of times, well, in the books that I've read, like Atomic Habits, it's all about the little things. It's that really matter. People complicate things too much and go like, well, I need to do this all. And then of course you're not going to do any of that. But if you just break it down to whatever that smallest little piece of whatever it is you need to do, whether it be, in your health, maybe it's exercising for 10 minutes. I don't know, maybe it's meditating, whatever it happens to be. If it's just a really small thing that you could put on a spreadsheet, and you can either tick a 1 or a 0, then it's so much easier that way than either you did it or you didn't. And there's no judgment if you didn't. It's progress. If you don't get the results you're looking for, well, then now you know why, right?
Yeah, it's that chance to get real with yourself and be like, oh yeah, that's been like 3 weeks in a row I haven't done that thing. Let's, well, why didn't I do that thing? Do I need to change what that thing is? Or how about this week I do that thing?
And that's I think the most important thing that I've gotten out of it, is that sometimes some of those things on that list are things that you are not doing because you don't need to. Like, there are some things you think you should be doing, but you just don't really need to do it. It's not going to get you any further. I mean, you could be still rocking your business and not doing that thing. But then there's other things that you're not doing because you've got some sort of fear towards it.
Yeah.
And that's really kind of the piece that I think you really benefit from, is that you notice that something's a zero for several days in a row or weeks in a row, and you're kind of going like, but I do need to do it. Okay, what's holding me back? There's something, and then you can kind of dig deep, and that's where the actual coach comes into play, because now you actually need to talk about it and figure out like, why is it that I'm not doing that? And maybe there's someone you can hire to do it, but probably not. It's probably something that you're just scared to do, right?
Yeah. You just have that moment of like, what am I scared of, and why? Yeah, I love that.
And we're filled with terrible programming. It's just, it is what it is. And I mean, we all kind of know it too, but in business, especially when you're alone and you're self-employed, well, there's no boss that's going to tell you, if you don't do this, you're going to lose your job. You just end up being broke, and it happens gradually, right?
Exactly.
So, right on. So now let's talk about you. Actually, it's time for your guest solo. So tell me what's exciting in your business.
Yeah, well, I was updating my homepage today. That was exciting. Or yesterday, got some more tweaks to do on there, but just really honing in my offer. So I have this VIP week structure now, where I can help people with their sales page copy over a week, or copy and design for 2 weeks. Design meaning using their existing branding, like I talked about before. So I'm excited to put that out there. And I also added like a smaller priced coaching session, because sometimes people just are a little unclear. So I was really excited to add that to my site, and that might change over time, because I'm really interested in productized services. So that's something I want to explore a little more over the year. But I have this sales page challenge, which is a 5-day challenge that you can get on my site if you want. It's at saradesign.com/challenge. And it helps you with like the sort of the minimum viable product for your minimum viable sales page. If you're just starting out, you don't know what should be on it. It's talking through mostly the copy, a little bit of design tips. It's a 5-day challenge, but I'm all about the like, I don't want to wait. I want to binge all the things at once. So you can get all 5 days at once, or you can spread it out if you want to. And that's been really fun to introduce on my site for people to have like, to give it a try on their own first, if they're not ready to hire me, or they just don't want to at all, to get those sections into their sales page that need to be there, that people don't know. Like you said, there is a formula that you follow. There are things that you need to have on your page need, like it would help you with your conversions if you have all these particular sections. So that was a fun freebie to add to my site. I'm really excited. Got probably have like 50 people through there so far. So I'm excited to see that grow.
Right on. Well, I can speak to the VIP days and how awesome they are, because my partner uses them as well. And it's, they like, I will say that especially in creative areas, getting on a roll is super important. And you can't really get on a roll when you're spreading it out, a couple minutes every day.
Yeah.
So like having a full day dedicated where you can both kind of, client and designer can get together and actually work through these things, it really does work. And especially if there's a system in place, which there is, that you're following, right, to make sure that you have all the right pieces. So, I can't say enough good things about how well that works. And then from the client perspective, if you're looking for somebody to do this, it's fantastic, because you've got it now. It's done. That's one of the things, most people would like something to be built for them quicker, wouldn't they? than taking longer.
Exactly.
So this is a way, it's a way to get that so quick. Now, so how do you mentioned saradesigns.com, right? That's how we find out more about this.
There's no S at the end. It's just Sara Design.
Saradesign.com. Awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much. Is there anything else you want to add?
I guess just if you want to hang out with me or chat or whatever, I'm usually over on Instagram at Sara Design Agency. So I welcome messages and can come hang out over there. Sometimes I share sales page tips and stuff on there in reels and whatnot. So that's that's a place we can connect, and I'd love to connect with your viewers.
Love it. Well, thank you so much for rocking out with me today, Sarah. This has been a lot of fun.
Thanks, Tim. Yeah, I had lots of fun too.
Good. And to the listeners, be sure you subscribe, rate, and comment, and we'll see you next time on the Work at Home Rockstar Podcast.